Hey guys, welcome back to Be Creative. Today's video, I am making my art journal page for my 2020 Unword of the Year. Yeah, you heard that right. Everybody's doing a word of the year and I'm not doing that. I am doing an unword, a word that I want to completely eradicate from my vocabulary. I've done a fairly good job so far. Spoilers, the word is should. But I'm going to be talking at great length about that a little bit later in the video. What you're seeing now is me starting on my focal point for the page. I have some Dina Wakley Collage paper, which is absolutely outstanding. It's wonderful. It's well worth the investment. I don't want to fangirl all over Dina Wakley. I'm sorry. I digress. I also have some regular acrylic paint. It's just cheap craft paint that I've watered down just a smidge. And you'll notice I have a chopstick. That's just a leftover chopstick. It was clean and unused before anybody says anything that we got from takeout, and I hung on to it. I really enjoy lots of painterly type sketches, and I like things really loose and kind of messy. And using a chopstick is a wonderful way to achieve this because it's a chopstick, y'all. It's a piece of wood. You are not going to get a lot of detail if you're using a chopstick. You can see I'm basically just adding the suggestion of features, but that's what I like. If you don't, use something else. Use a magazine or a picture. Ooh, a picture of yourself would be really powerful in this. You may also notice that I'm not adding hair to my person because I don't like drawing hair, so I'm not going to do that. You do need to do this part first because the acrylic paint is going to take a long while to dry. So set that aside, and we're going to go ahead and start working on the first page in our journal. I have some Distress Spray stain and antique linen that I'm just squirting down, and then I'm going to go over it with some bronze stain that was really harsh, the lines, because of the little felt dauber, and I tried to kind of smooth that out with a baby wipe. It didn't really work. So to fix that, I have some vintage photo stain that I'm spraying through with stencil, and it worked. I should have just done that to begin with. Oh, see? I said should. See how easy it is to sneak up on you? We're going to talk about that here in a minute. Okay, so now we're going to start working on the background of our page. I slowed this part down and left in pretty much all the stamping. Sorry, I needed time to talk, and speeding up the video just didn't give me enough time. So my unword of the year is should, and I would like to encourage everyone to remove this word from your vocabulary. As you heard just moments ago, I actually slipped up and said it, and that's how prevalent it is. It is an incredibly powerful word. It's actually a type of cognitive distortion. Sometimes cognitive distortions are called negative thinking patterns, and when I'm working with kids, I always call them stinking thinking. You're probably pretty familiar with these. They are typically irrational and untrue thoughts that we use to explain whatever it is that is happening to us. The most common, and the one that I see other than should, is black and white thinking. That's the tendency to view things as either or. In an absolute, it is black or white, hence the name. You are for or against me. And we know logically that's not true. We primarily live in shades of gray. Should statements are just another type of cognitive distortion. And specifically, they are critical judgments. They also have a lot of connotations. There's a lot of connotations wrapped up in the word should, and that's what you're seeing me put down on the back of this page. I actually say I have to a lot. I have to. By saying that, I'm removing choice. I don't have to do anything except pay taxes and eventually die. So it drives my husband crazy. So that's why you're going to see so many have tos on this page. Other variations of the word should are ought and must, as you see me stamping down here. Albert Ellis actually called it masturbating all over other people. When you start using should statements or variations, really what you're talking about at this point is expectations. And before the collective internet picks up their pitchforks and comes after me, I'm not saying expectations are bad. Typically they are healthy and they are motivating. But when expectations are not fair or when they are unrealistic, then they can be damaging. And a should statement embodies that. What we're saying is that I have decided, judgment, that something did not go the way I wanted it to. It did not meet my expectation. Think about the implications of this for a moment, especially when we apply it to other people. When we decide what another person should or should not be doing, not only are we passing judgment on something that is literally outside of our control, because we cannot control other people. And if you have a 3-year-old toddler, I'm sure you will agree with me on this. When we decide how things must happen or should have happened, and especially with other people, we're giving that person all of our power. We're giving that person the responsibility for our own feelings. And we are the author of our own feelings. We have left it up to someone else to fix how we feel. Typically, what prompts a should statement, other than the expectation, is that something has happened that has made you uncomfortable. And it's not necessarily because of the other person. There's something about what's happened that doesn't align with your core belief or value system. Should statements are particularly damaging because of the corresponding emotions that they create. And if you stop and think, it's generally anger, disappointment, shame, frustration. We get angry that this thing that we wanted to happen, that we had already decided should happen, didn't. It is fraught with anger and frustration. And that's why I am advocating with everyone that we remove it from our vocabulary. Once I have all of my should statements down, and you know, it's actually kind of pretty now that I'm looking at it, I want to cover it up. So this part of my art journal page is really about representation. And if you are following along and you're doing something similar, one, I would love to see it. Please @ me on Instagram. And two, think about the prevalence of should statements in your life, or the must, the oughts, the have tos. Think about how often do you say should throughout the day. I wanted to create a type of wallpaper effect because I'm intending to rip it, and I want to just see the little bit of must and shoulds and have tos that are still left in my life. Like I said, it's become part of our everyday vocabulary, which the implications of that, of having judgment on so many things, is actually really interesting if you think about it from a psychological perspective. Anyway, I digress. So I have some torn up pieces of gel print, and I'm using gel medium to glue them down in sections. This was important because I didn't want to put the whole thing down and then I wouldn't be able to get it up. So I'm gluing it down in sections, and as you will see, once I get, why does it take me so long to get that glue down? Good Lord. Now I'm going to peel it up. I probably could have done this an easier way now that I'm looking at it. But I really wanted something organic looking instead of just cutting or ripping the paper before I put it down. I didn't like all that white though, so I'm just gonna take that little piece and cover that part back up. That's how we fix that. And then we move on. I'm gonna do this over the whole page. And again, like I said, the amount of must and have tos and oughts that I leave showing is specific to me. I still have a ways to go before I have completely removed should statements from my vocabulary, but I feel like I've made really good progress. So you decide how much of the should statements are currently in your life or currently left in your life, and then use your gel prints or paper, scrapbook paper, whatever it is that you're using to represent how you are overcoming that, and decide how much you want to leave. Once you get all of your gel prints or your scrapbook paper or whatever it is that you are using to cover up that should background, we're going to add our focal point. So I am simply just cutting out the head so I have as little collage paper as possible. Oh, please make sure that you initially glue it upside down first so that you can save it in the nick of time and apply it correctly. That I was actually really surprised I could pull that up because of the amount of gel medium that I typically use. So now we're going to stamp out our sentiment, which I hope everyone knows is should. That's the whole point of our page, and that's the sentiment I'm going to use. Hang in here with me though, because after we get this glued down, we're actually going to leave it alone for a couple seconds, and the most powerful, most impactful part of this activity comes at the end. So I'm going to take my Stabilo and just go around the edge of the page to give it like a nice frame. And if you guys are interested in learning some more therapeutic art activities, or if you're interested in finding out how art can affect your mental health, I'll put a link in the description box below to Mixed Up Creative Academy. They are offering a Wellspring course that talks about this specifically. I'm actually writing an article for them about should statements, and I go into much more detail and also offer alternatives to should statements and how you can start effectively removing it from your vocabulary. Once I get that down, I add some water over the Stabilo just to loosen it up a little bit. And now here's the part. This is the powerful part, you guys. It's striking through should. Yeah, that's really satisfying looking at it like this. I really hope that you guys learned a little something and maybe are able to take away something from this video that will help you in your day-to-day life. As always, I would love to hear from you guys, and good luck. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.